from a business perspective, what were the things that got you as a brand from 5 figures to 6 figures a month? And then beyond that, what were the things that got you from 6 to 7?
I don't know. That was like really at the start. Going from like 5 to 7 figures was quite early on. And that was just about product offering and having the stock to be able to do it. And then obviously Facebook ads came along, Instagram appeared, and everyone started using that. So the actual ascent from like 6 to 7 figures was really easy.
Which makes the lessons learned
not even seem like lessons because they weren't really there.
You almost got a fast pass, which means that you didn't have the ability to see how you got there to then apply it to the next stage in many ways, didn't you?
Right.
Which is almost why you found yourself in that position, yeah.
Yeah, and 2016 to 2019, we were stuck. Like the revenue was flat. The business was flat. Like we'd grown through the first 5-6 years of the brand, and then we just flattened off, and I couldn't figure out, because I didn't understand what I actually needed to do for all that time, how we would get to the next step, or if there even was a next step. Like I didn't know like where we could grow with the business. I thought we was doing the right things and making the right decisions, and it just wasn't true.
Was your identity directly correlated with the performance of the business in that period?
Yeah, 100%.
Is it still now?
No, the brand is way bigger than what I am. Like I'm just a tool to help it grow, I guess.
So 2019, things changed.
Yeah.
Aggressively.
Yeah.
It's fair to say. If there is a moment, what was the period of time where you started to get the feeling that things were going, and then the trajectory has just gone year on year from that point? Correct me if I'm wrong, but financial year forecast this year, as you've said recently, is 80 million we're looking at. And 2019 was at 7 in that year. So between now and then, the trajectory has been insane. And it took you from, best part of 7 years to get to that point.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, there was like I said, there was a breaking point where it was like, we either do this or we don't. Me, Mike, James, Steph, the boys that are still in the business now, sat down and we mapped out a whole new plan. And we spent the back end of 2018 and half of 2019 just really like changing everything. So it was like down to suppliers, down to fabrics, down to the shows we were showing at, down to cutting off, like doing runways, down to changing our wholesale platform, down to going to direct to consumer only for a while. And were all things that were risks, right? But there were risks that we had to take, because if we didn't take them, we would stay flat. Like we were manufacturing everything in the UK till 2018, where the suppliers couldn't handle the production that we'd want to do if we wanted to double our revenue. And the price points for the product that we were making, we were losing money at wholesale anyway. So why, like, we were doing it wrong. Like everything, even though it says made in Britain, it wasn't great. Like the production value you get out of Britain is nowhere near what you can get in other countries. And even though the whole made in Britain essence, and I'm sure it's the same, made in the USA, it's nowhere near as fast forward and well executed as countries that are really leveraging production to actually become huge economies based on that.
Did you make the decision to change based on the few scenarios where the actual product that went out to market wasn't what you hoped it would be?
Yeah, the product wasn't great. The product was taking too long to make, and the work that was put into every single product was way too much for what it should have been. Like we wanted to do vintage wash hoodies. We would have to go and get the fabric from one mill, drive it to a production house that would stitch it up, then drive it to a wash house that would dye it, but then it'd shrink. So then you'd have to then resize it for a different label. Then it'd go to another place to get printed. They'd charge you extra to put it in a bag. Then it comes to your warehouse. And like the whole cycle of that adds up, that you don't realize, like every single 50p or pound or whatever it is, just transport cost and labeling costs and bagging costs adds so much onto it, that then when you're going out to a wholesale partner and they're asking for discount and you're like, okay, yeah, take 10% discount on this if you're going to order X amount, you're making zero money. And we just didn't realize that for so many years.
There was a round of jackets that went out, weren't there, that you had to almost recall and apologize for?
That was a long time ago.
Was that before then?
Yeah.
Before the decision. So you had that lesson,
I had that
still
lesson
stuck
many
with the
times.
British made
Yeah.
for a long period of time. So was it just that 2019 overhaul as a business where you took the decision, enough's enough, we're moving it elsewhere, and then the journey to make that happen began?
Yeah, so we spent like a lot of time in Portugal, and it was a completely different system to how we were manufacturing. So usually I'd have pattern cutters in-house that would make samples, and then we'd take it down to the factory in Birmingham, we'd refit it, we'd redo it in an actual fabric, mock it up, see how it does. That would take so long because there's so much physical effort in it. And James, who's now the chief product officer, was like, let's just try Portugal. Everyone says it's the best thing. Everyone says we need to do our jersey there, we need to do our pants there. And I had so many bad like arguments with him, and we were so immature at the time. And I just didn't believe it was right. Like, I didn't believe it was the right thing, that actually everything can be done off measurements and prototypes, not all made by hand in the office, which is how I originally loved it. But we knocked that on the head, and that was such a long process. That was like nearly a year of us not having stock because we don't want to do the English stuff, and we're trying this Portuguese stuff that's taking so long. We're trying to figure out all these factories. They don't want to work with us because we're so small. They don't know who we are because we've just come into the country. It's like you're in this battle, and eventually you get out of this battle where you can order a lot more. All the other factories start talking about you. Then they all want you. Then you've got the leverage on all of them. And now it's like every single factory in Portugal wants to work with Represent. So they're all fighting for it. They're all giving us the best product possible. And we've got amazing partners now. And that wouldn't have happened if James wouldn't have come to me and said, look, let's try this.
So along the way, team members have been an enormous part of the whole process. James obviously figured that out along the way. You and Mike have been in the team the whole way through. You've been the core. What point did you relinquish top end control and bring in a CEO? And when did you start to actually be a bit more tactical and strategic about board level discussions, senior leadership team? Because up until 2019, you were a team of 6 or 7, weren't you?
Yeah, I think
we
dropped back down to 8 just before COVID.
Wow.
And that was about streamlining the business so we could actually do other things. Going back to that, we focused on our online. We knew we had a lot of customers there. They just weren't buying from us because we weren't doing the right things. We were trying to be a different brand. We were trying to do runways. We were trying to be technical, trying to do too many things, listening to too many people in the wrong areas. So yeah, we came back to our roots, started putting things online. COVID happened. We were like, okay, most factories are shut down here. Let's find the ones that are still working, and let's get product in from them that we can do pretty easily. Easy t-shirts. Mike can do amazing graphics. Let's put some graphics on these tees. Let's imitate the vintage rock tees. And we put some online on like a Friday, and they sold out. And then we did next Friday, and they sold out. And then we doubled it next Friday, and they sold out. And then it became this thing where we were all just like, something here is actually like really catching on. And we did like a series of 10 tees originally for the first 10 weeks of COVID. And then we restocked them all, and it just blew up the website, and was like, right, we're onto something here. Their eyes are on us. Everyone's getting these orders next day in the middle of COVID because our warehouse is still working. And everyone's tagging it on Instagram. There's so many eyes on the brand. Now we can actually like rebuild what the brand's DNA is and start really designing some really cool product. And that there was the turning point where the brand exploded. And luckily that was like a year into COVID. So I had a year of just being able to clear my mind, listen to podcasts, read books, talk to Mike all day. Didn't have the stress of business, didn't have the stress of like a huge team on my shoulders and me trying to navigate through things without knowing what I'm doing. There was no fashion weeks on, so we couldn't even do a fashion show. So we knocked that on the head. Stores were all cancelling their orders with other brands. So it was like, okay, we don't need to do wholesale. Let's just leave it for a while. Built the brand through them 2 years or so, got it to such a huge level from where it was that we looked back and was like, right, stores are opening up now. All the factories are reopening. Everyone's coming to us. Every single store in every single country wants Represent. Whereas back before that, it was like, oh, will you take Represent on? Like, okay, we'll give you this order, but we want this discount, and we're only going to pay you in 90 days. Whereas now it's like, we've got the leverage. So they're coming to us. They're desperate for Represent. They're selling out of the product. Okay, so now we can increase our global, I say lighthouse, because all these stores are lighthouses for us. They'll all get a select amount of products. We'll put it in there. People will go in, look at it, and be like, oh shit, this is amazing product and it's good price. Like, let me go on the website. They'll come on the website, see such a big collection and see the prestige system, get involved with the community, they see the Facebook groups and the Instagram accounts. And that's where we're at now. We're just at this place where everyone wants represent and we're making the right product.